Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Yes, the wig is off just for a little bit. So let me tell y'all something. I had the craziest time trying to do this hair. It turned out really cute, but it was actually not supposed to go this way. This is actually not even color. This is just bleach because my hair was purple. Yeah, I did some stupid mix in colors. It didn't turn out how I wanted. It turned out like freaking purple, and it was not a cute purple. So I was like, let me bleach it out, and I ended up getting this. And my mom was like, you should keep it. I was like, okay. So I just cut it, shaped it up, and dyed it. Well, not dyed it, but bleached it again. And here we go. It's really cute. I'm like refreshed. It's like a hot day outside in Arkansas. But I saw this case of lawn crime and I was like, let me go and talk about this because I've been seeing it pop up on my feed. I was like, okay, an ex-councilman, I think he's a councilman, and he killed his, I guess, I want to say his sugar baby, because that's what this looked like. She was an exotic dancer, but I'm so confused because I'm like, I'm already going to get my theories in this. I think jealousy. He was mad that she wanted to leave because she was an exotic dancer. It wasn't going to work out no matter what, okay, dude? It's like, I didn't see it. So we're going to just go and get right into this because I want to go and hear about it. Okay, y'all. Also, let me go and let y'all know, this woman was 20 years old and he was 58. So just let that stick with you for a little bit, okay? Y'all, the color. Anyways.
A city councilman faces murder charges in Washington after police accused him of killing his much younger girlfriend. This week, he entered a not guilty plea in court. We're going to dig into the charging documents with Seattle. James McNeil Jr. seemed to be a pillar of his community in Bothell, Washington. Served on the city council for 8 years. He'd been in the construction business. It's our understanding he even helped create a charity to foster relationships between police and young people in the area. But earlier this month, the 58-year-old McNeil was arrested and...
Okay, this picture already, it looks like he's just... Maybe he just got tired of the same old, and wanted to go with an exotic dancer. Yeah, sugar daddy, 100%. Because, like, what else? The girl was 20, he was 58, nothing left said. It's always, like, y'all know something, it's always the politicians. Why do they always be, it's always them. They're always the ones that's, like, messing with these girls, and it's weird because it's, like, obviously it's only for money, because it's, like, it would never work. I'm not being rude, but seriously, come on. Like, if you saw her, you just knew, okay? I even went to the comments, and that's what they were saying, too.
Charged with murder. Murder after being found at his 20-year-old girlfriend's home, and she was dead in the bedroom upstairs. Lilia Gajvaronsky was found naked, face down in her bed. She was covered up by bedding. Police documentation indicates McNeil's own attorney called 911. Think about that for a second, saying his client was inside the home. There had likely been a homicide. First responders believe that Lilia had been dead for a while. Investigators are still waiting on autopsy results to determine when exactly she died and how she was killed. For now, it appears that she was suffocated. Investigators believe that she likely died sometime between April 28th, when neighbors last reported seeing her, and April 30th, when she was found. According to police, as well as what friends and family have told local media outlets, Lilia met McNeil when she was working at a Seattle strip club. McNeil reportedly had separated from his wife, shared children with. He lost his bid for re-election to the city council last year. He had served 2 terms. McNeil and Lilia apparently had been in an on-again, off-again relationship.
There we go. Family gone. Job messed up. He went downhill and just, first of all, somebody noted this in the comments, and you could definitely see it. The girl she did not look happy. She looking like, why am I still here? I have been in this relationship too long. It wasn't supposed to turn out to a relationship. It was just about money. The man, now I can't get out. That's what that was given.
Relationship for some time, with McNeil reportedly funding her lifestyle so she could maybe quit her job. They reportedly had a fight just days before she was killed. Lilia's friend Madison Darner told KIRO7 in Seattle she was 20 years old and she was young. She was figuring out her life, and she was a beautiful and talented young woman. She cared for every single person, and the intention behind her actions was so sincere and genuine. No one deserves to be murdered like that. I want to bring in right now Seattle attorney Ann Bremner. You have a lot of experience in these kinds of domestic violence cases, and it's good to see you. It's been some time. Right off the bat, it has.
Yeah, great to see you.
Good to see you. Right off the bat, how do you react to this story, since it's Not necessarily in your neighborhood, but, it's in your state.
Well, and she actually was in South Seattle, which is more in my neighborhood here in Seattle. But it's shocking to see somebody that served on the city council not one but 2 terms, and had, at least up until now, a crime-free life, family, everything else, to be arrested like this was a pretty shocking headline. Especially when his lawyer called in and said that there's a homicide in that house, and of course there he was with the body.
Let's get to that in a minute, because I'm made of questions when it comes to that. But I want to go through these charging documents with you. So McNeil was charged with murder in the 2nd degree. I believe that carries up to life in prison. The prosecutor stated in the filing, quote, that the defendant James Gregory McNeil Jr. in King County, Washington, on or about the period between April 28, 2024 and April 30th, 2024, while committing and attempting to commit the crime of assault in the 2nd degree, and in the course of and in furtherance of said crime, and in the immediate flight therefrom, and with intent to cause the death of another person, did cause the death of Lilia A. Gavronsky, a human being who was not a participant in said crime, and who died between April 28th and April 30th. Now, assault in the 2nd degree, as used in the above charge, means to intentionally assault another by strangulation or suffocation. His bond was set at $3 million. So, and my question is, the way I understand it, is for there to be 2nd degree murder, you either need the intent to kill, you don't need premeditation, but the intent to kill, but also if you're committing a felony, like an assault and someone dies, that could be 2nd degree murder. Do I have that right?
You have it exactly right. And in our state, we have the underlying felony of assault too. If that's committed, it can be by strangulation or grievous bodily harm assault. You're going to have murder too in certain circumstances, and that's the way they charge it here. And then, of course, with murder too, you don't have premeditation like lying in wait.
Okay, let me get her to say something. I've seen a case like this before. You hear a lot of cases like this. Actually, you'll be surprised if you just do research. True crime, y'all. I've seen it all and heard it all with these true crime stories. This is just a textbook case of a dude who liked the attention a younger girl was giving him, and she didn't want to stay, and he forced her to quit her job, and it's just that he looked like he wanted the power to control her life, and it just didn't work out. And I got a feeling that she wanted to leave 100%. The girl was only 20. She had so much left, so much life. It's so weird how these older dudes get with these younger women like this, and it's weird when younger girls get with older guys like that too. I just don't get it. I'm like, ew, that's a 38 age gap. That's actually insane. He should have been embarrassed to be in public with her, because I just don't like those age gaps. That's a nasty age gap. I don't care if she is over 18. That was a nasty age gap, dude. You got kids, and you had kids, or you got kids, had a wife. Yeah, he just looked like he going through a midlife crisis. That's what it is. Midlife crisis baby. And this is what it turned to. You'd be surprised by how many. It's always like the politicians too. They just get so tired of their life, and they just find life boring. So they go try to look at some excitement. And yeah, that's what it turned to. He looked like he just wanted something else that he could control. Just like a politician. Councilman, politician, same thing.
You have intent to kill, so you can charge in the alternative.
So in other words, if he were to say, listen, we got into a fight, I got aggressive, he wouldn't be able to argue, I don't know, you tell me, would he be able to argue manslaughter, or does he have to say, I had nothing to do with this, I wasn't there, I didn't put my hands on her?
Yeah, he can't say that because he was found with her body. That'd be a pretty tough defense, right?
Yeah.
Although he was silent after his lawyer said he's not going to talk. He didn't talk after he was arrested by Seattle police. But basically, with you have strangulation, that is actually assault too in our state. And an interesting thing, just as a side note, our Supreme Court threw out assault too as an underlying offense for murder too sometime back. But then the legislature fixed some things, and now it's back in as an underlying felony for you.
Yeah, that's I can understand that. I can understand why you would do that, because if you're going to engage in that kind of violent attack and someone dies, it makes sense. But let me talk to you about McNeil's attorney, because this is really, really interesting. So his attorney was the one who made the call to 911 to report that something very bad had happened inside this South Seattle home. Jan Olson, the attorney, called Seattle police on April 30th. Part of the 911 phone call transcript was included in the charging documents. I'll read it right here. Olson says, I'm an attorney. I am reporting what is likely a homicide. I represent someone inside the residence and am making the call. I have not gone inside. I am outside of the residence. When the dispatcher asked if Olson knew the relationship between his client and the person he believed was dead in the home, Olson said, I cannot comment further. I am here to assist this person as an attorney, and I'm authorized to share this in order to have law enforcement become involved. Now, Ann, you actually know Jan Olson?
I do. I just finished a case with Jan where we both represented the same individual. He had the criminal case and I had the civil. And I've known him for decades. He's a great lawyer, very ethical, very, very careful. And my guess, I mean, just from what he said, is that the accused at that point asked him to make that call. And so that's what he did.
Okay. Is that the only way that could have happened? Or does he say, my client just told me that he strangled someone and I'm going to call law enforcement? Because the attorney-client relationship, the attorney-client privilege could be kind of interesting there. If his client called him and said, I just strangled someone, I don't know if she's dead or not, she might be dead, but I just strangled her, or someone, does he have an obligation to call law enforcement?
I think he does in that circumstance under our ethical rules in Washington, especially if you don't know if she's dead or not. And so the fact is, if someone can come in and rescue her, then I think he has it up.
Don't y'all think it's crazy that we have laws like, and not just that right there, but I'm trying to get the glare out of this. Isn't it crazy that we got like statute of limitations and stuff like this, laws to protect and laws to like say that, somebody lost their life. So I think it's so crazy that there are laws to say like, well, I guess you could say patient and client, no, and then the same thing, client and like lawyer confidentiality. So it's like you confess of a crime and they have the right to protect you. I just think that's so crazy. It's like human laws, like, we're human beings. Somebody lost their life, you would think they want justice quick. But I always think it's crazy how client, like confidentiality, stuff like that, I get it, but it's like, just on anybody who committed a crime, it's just crazy that they created like a system that also protects the villain. That's just, if that makes sense, y'all. I just think it's weird. It's like, we are human beings. People have lost their life. Why would you not want these people punished, or at least like just tell the truth? When you think about crime in general, people commit crimes and then they hide it. Like, it's so crazy how everybody, and yes, that was a chuckle, because it's actually insane how somebody can commit a crime and then it's like they go in a whirlwind trying to hide it, and then all these people have to go find it. This is like a whole recurrent thing, and it's a job. This is legit a job. So I just find it so interesting. It's just human logic. Dude, who created this?
Obligation. I was surprised. I don't think he identified himself, did he? But they had the identification on the call, some way to identify the caller.
Yeah,
at any rate.
He said, I'm an attorney. I don't know if he gave his full name, but yeah.
Right, but it sounds like the body had been there for some time.
Yeah.
So it kind of begs the question about, was there some emergency or something like that? So I think...
Because let's be clear, it's an ongoing threat, ongoing crime. If a murder had already happened and there's a dead body, he wouldn't necessarily have to call police, right? Walk us through that.
Exactly, and that's why I think he must have had the go-ahead from his client to make that call. His client's sitting there for days, I don't know, hours, and then calls his lawyer and says, listen, somebody needs to report this. I'm sitting here, and so Jan makes the call. That's the way I would think it happened, but only Jan knows, and only that defendant knows.
Because your client could confess to you, I know where the bodies are, or I did this, but you wouldn't be under a legal obligation to then report it to the police. That's attorney-client privilege.
I know, and there's some tough cases on that, as you know, Jesse, over the years.
Yeah.
On that ethical obligation and how families wait for answers, and attorneys don't give those often in certain cases based on the privilege.
I'm starting to think that, I think you're right, that he must have gotten the green light from Mr. McNeil to call police, because if this was already a homicide, this was already a dead body, he wouldn't have had an obligation to do that. Okay, so Olson calls the police. They send out officers, and this is what they find. This is according to the charging documents. The police responded. The defendant was immediately taken into custody as he exited the victim's home. Evidence from the residents and the victim's family show that the defendant and this victim had been in a dating relationship that lasted several months and that he was likely supporting her financially, estimated at approximately $10,000 a month. At the time police made entry into the home, the victim was laying naked in her bed, her safe space, as she had described it to her mother, having been deceased for some time. Observed around the residence were handwritten notes reminding her not to have contact with the defendant, describing him as mentally and emotionally abusive, and recording details as to how he made her feel so that she would not forget it. Photographs of...
Hold on. Yep. Knew it. He got obsessive. Obsessive and abusive because she wanted to leave. Ugh. Cases like this are really nasty. They just, these men, and it's like I said, it's men because, this is the case. Also because he's so much more older than her. Like, dude, you're like in your prime age, and it's like, just because you lost everything, God, like, all you had to take her from this girl, even though she was doing, like, she was an exotic dancer, she was taking his money, but it's like, it's nobody. She ain't deserve this though. But he got obsessive. It's like, dude, you ain't nervous. You're not like weirded out by being out with a 20-year-old girl anyway. That's just sad that that's how you can tell he lost it all. Cause like dudes who are men, cause he's a grown man, who are okay with that are just like, it's weird. Let me look at this, y'all. At the bottom, because I don't think he's going to read it. They said, another note, trying to do the least with the most. Him being 58 and he doesn't want to help me financially. This is her. Also, he turns everything you could take ownership for anything. Another note was similar handwriting indicates, make sure you do not forget how you felt. The anger, hurt, neglect from James, knowing you are struggling. Do not care, dismissing any attempts to ask for help. Demanding sex, demanding access to everything. Example, key to home. Another note reads, is mentally, emotionally abused, no empathy. Yeah, he became beyond obsessive. These obsessive cases is like, he looked like he was obsessive. He became a stalker. Like, he couldn't get enough. And it's so creepy. Think about seeing him outside your door. And she was in her home, so obviously he followed her.
McNeil and Gavronsky together in various locations, as well as several handwritten lists believed to be authored by Gavronsky, were found throughout her residence. One such note was dated April 29th, 2024, best described as a to-do list, had several items listed, including at the very bottom, do not interact with James today.
She had a restraining order or
Another note
something?
with similar handwriting indicates, make sure you do not forget how you felt. The anger, hurt, neglect from James, knowing you are struggling, does not care, dismissing any attempts to ask for help, demanding sex, demanding access to everything. Example, key to home. And talk to me about these notes.
Well, they're just devastating. I mean, coercive control, of course, is the phrase we use with domestic violence cases. And she's in chapter and verse laying that out to herself, but also to us today and the prosecutors and potentially jury in the future as to what she was going through. I mean, she had worked, and then he was paying her $10,000 a month, and she didn't work. And yet, she was all conflicted because he was controlling, he was abusive, and she was reminding herself daily, don't fall for this guy. And she even talked about how he would get abusive, she would give him a silent treatment, and then he would love bomb her and have her come back, gifts, dresses, things like that, and money. But she wanted out of that cycle, but then she ended up dead. We know how cycle of violence can oftentimes end this way. And just one other side note, in the O.J. Simpson case we just saw, at least I recently saw, that Nicole Brown Simpson had quite a journal similar to this that never came into evidence.
So, in other words, you see this in the kinds of cases you've covered, these domestic violence cases where there's somebody in the relationship leaving themselves notes, reminding them about what happened. So when you heard that detail, you weren't necessarily surprised to hear it.
No, and I've also seen somebody like the Susan Cox Powell case that I had where she actually did a last will and testament saying, if I die, my husband did it. And she put it in a safe deposit box. She was right.
Now, when police took McNeil out of the home, it goes on to state the court filing, officers observed that McNeil had both fresh and dried blood on his clothing, a deep laceration on his right wrist, and a couple of other lacerations on his left wrist. Mr. Olson advised that Mr. McNeil would not say anything to officers. McNeil was identified by his Washington State driver's license. Officers believe that McNeil may have been attempting to take his own life,
I
so
don't know
they
what he
took
was
him to a
thinking about
hospital.
with that. He looked like
And how does that aspect factor into the case?
It's not.
I guess you could get him some sympathy, but not really. I mean, in this kind of a case, there's even eventually.
What sympathy would he get from anybody? Dude, you became obsessive. You just said forget everything, your kids. It's like, did he even... Jeez, can you imagine like going somewhere with your kids and your ex bring this like 20-year-old girl? Just all types of weird. It's like I would really be like, what kind of mental, like not mental, but like, I'll be like, what kind of meltdown you had? Because I don't know, but it's always like I said, people with power, like they said with the what was his name? They just said it. O.J. Simpson case. It's just because they have money and stuff, they think they can rule and try to overpower everybody, and that's exactly what he did. Like, you was giving her money, yeah, you was giving her a lot of money, dude. You're crazy for that. It was never gonna work out. That was never gonna work out. He should have known that from the start. Be realistic. Come on. You know, some people just live in reality, some people just live in like imaginary. They don't want to think about it. Yeah, the girl was an exotic dancer. Everything told you that right there. What do you think this was? Why would he turn that into a relationship and make her quit her job so he can just continue to pay her and then force her to do stuff? That's so nasty.
Yesterday for her because some folks were saying she was denigrated because she quote unquote been a stripper before this. And a lot of people are talking about what a wonderful person she was, you know, her family as her friends, her neighbors, etc. And so maybe he did try and do that, but again, how's that going to help him in a trial? He's facing murder 2 charges with potentially, like you said, life in prison and a $50,000 fine, or both.
Well, I imagine he could say, I was so distraught at seeing her body, this is what I did. But I really think it goes to consciousness of guilt, right? In your experience, if someone tries to, there's one thing for trying to escape, but if someone tries to take their own life, sometimes that can be used to prove that they committed the crime.
Right, and I was going back to the O.J. Simpson case. Why didn't they bring that out when he wrote what looked like a suicide note? They didn't. I thought that they should have. And I think in this case it would be important. We had a stock brief, and I was a prosecutor, called evidence of flight is evidence of guilt. I mean, it's so obvious that comes in. And the fact that he wanted to take his own life, that does show, like you said, consciousness of guilt. And then he finally calls his lawyer because he's just been sitting there stewing after he did try and kill himself, but apparently that was a pretty futile effort from what I can tell from the injuries.
Now, he was supposed to appear in court for the first time for a bail hearing in the days after, but he was a no-show. He waived his right to appear in court. That's when the judge set that $3 million bond. He finally appeared on Tuesday, didn't say anything. His attorney entered a not guilty plea for him. His next court date in June, plans for a trial in July. What do you make of that, not showing up?
I kind of look at someone like this and think that he's just being a manipulator. I mean, he could show up, and he wasn't unable physically to show up. And he did look pretty bad in those pictures and the videos that I saw from yesterday. But all you do, at least in my state, is you can only enter a plea of not guilty at that stage. Right. Nothing's going to happen on the calendar. So he wasn't really avoiding anything.
And
okay, so this dude kills her by strangling her, then tried to kill himself, couldn't do it, then called his lawyer to told his lawyer to call 911 to tell him what he did. So y'all, I keep talking about this and I need to go and upload it. I think I'm gonna upload it today about the cash bonds because he was on $1 million bond and I think he was on a bail. I think he bailed himself out. You ain't gotta pay the whole thing. Now, my problem with this is that, like they say, he didn't show up. I just don't think, you committed murder or allegedly committed murder to, figure out everything. I just don't believe that bail should exist because stuff like this, people can easily get away. And yeah, he like they don't think he a flight risk. I'm like, he look like they need to catch him on like trying to off himself. I just believe that they need to really be careful about these bonds with certain people. Like you could, if you're in a murder crime, you should not get bail. You should be held into your trial because you never know what can happen. Or ankle monitor to everybody because they don't give them out. But like this dude became obsessive, and he really did become obsessive. Like you're right, like you demanded sex with her, demanding like her to do all this stuff for you. You stalking her, you want to keep her home. Like, oh my god, this girl was only 20 years old. He was 58. Like, dude, get the hint. You should have never did this in the beginning. She obviously tried to get out, and then she was ordered to stay away from him, and because he became so obsessive, and I'm pretty sure she was trying to get a restraining order over this dude. Just some dudes can't take it, y'all. That's what this is. It's a lot of unstable people. Like, I'm really like learning this, and like I was talking to my sister this morning, like almost 1 a.m. She was saying the same thing. All these cases she's seen, she was like, people just become obsessive and they don't know how to handle it. With grown men, this man was like having a mental breakdown, and he looked like he just had a whole life shift, and that he didn't know what was going on. He was losing everything. He lost his family, lost his job, and then ended up going with an escort, was able to pay her $10,000 a month, which is crazy. Your life is not over at that age. Why not just go find somebody else and be happy? He doesn't even look like the dude that are like the type of dudes that would do this. That's what's kind of creepy. I'm like, you don't look like you would do this. He don't look like he would do it, but he did, allegedly. The girl was so young. That's what's so sad. It's like she was so young, and he really allegedly like did that and then tried to kill himself. So that basically, I feel like it's a done case. And I don't know what to say about this, y'all. What do you guys think? When I tell y'all, I don't know what it is. Why are people so obsessed with others? Is it that he was like craving attention, or like, dude, you are 58. That's what I'm saying. Your life is not over. It is now, but you know, it wasn't over at the time. The girl was only 20. This is a 38-year-old age gap. I don't like those age gaps. I don't care what you say. Immediately, people thought, even in the comments, everybody was like, sugar daddy. He don't look like he would do it. They was calling him really bad names, like a walrus. I get it. But I'm like, he don't look like he would do any of this. That's what's so weird. And he just looked like a dad, which he is a father. But y'all, we like everything. I feel like we keep seeing these cases and where everybody's always surprised by who it is, and yep, he did that allegedly, and I just don't get the whole sugar daddy thing. I get wanting to make money quick, but look what you gotta do. So on that note, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. What are your thoughts? Leave them in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye.